वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। क्या खुश नसीब जो साई को पाले, उसे पाकर दुख दर्द मिटा ले। सहारा वही है, किनारा वही है, यारा वही है, ओ यारा वही है। क्या खुश नसीब जो साई को पाले, उसे पाकर दुख दर्द मिटा ले। सहारा वही है, किनारा वही है, यारा वही है, ओ यारा वही है। Sairam, I offer my loving pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. I invoke Bhagwan's presence in each and every heart, in each and every house who has joined on this wonderful evening. Thank you so much for having me here. And the idea why I joined here is this. It's been almost like more than a decade since I've address such sessions. Of course, I try to regularly attend such sessions as audience, but I've hardly speaking after almost a decade. Bhagwan, over the 7 years I had the opportunity of studying in Bhagwan's schools and colleges. Handful of times Bhagwan had gave the opportunity to address audience in his presence, and this picture that you see is from my class 12. This was the first time I spoke in Bhagwan's presence. And sometimes, when you speak, when you address devotees as Swami's students, sometimes, the funny mind and, some ego comes into your mind, and you feel that, you have to ensure that the content is good. You are Swami's student, so the message that reaches devotees should be correct. And, Swami will be particular about this. And I was preparing for, we have to be mentally prepared. If you have established yourself as a speaker, you have to be mentally prepared. Swami may call at any short notice. So once I was preparing and going through Bhagwan's text, and a very apt message reached me. It was Swami's words I read in a book, and he says, I give you these opportunities to speak, sing, chant, act in my presence, so that the message you convey gets embedded in your mind. So with all humility, I pray to Swami that this opportunity is more of a reminder for me of the wonderful times and the wisdom that Bhagwan gave. And I pray to him, if it is of learning, if it is of use to the devotees gathered here, it is all his will. With that thought, I'll try to start. The way I organized my thoughts before I came in was, maybe I'll flip through some memories of my 7 years in Bhagwan's institutions, and logically I thought I'll first start with my very first year in my class 11. If you want, you can remove the picture. What happened was, I think most of the devotees here are from Delhi. I was born and brought up in Mumbai, and typical to any North Indian who is based in a city, you have a certain lifestyle in terms of the food you eat, the friends you go with. So it was a very difficult period when I joined Swami's school, because my health wasn't exactly in good shape. I had gone through a surgery. I could not adjust to the food. We North Indians have a particular, we are foodies. And the style of living in Bhagwan's institutions is very simple. Back then, in our rooms, we would not have fans. and we would have mattress, but we would sleep on floors. There were certain subjects that were difficult. So all in all, while today this sounds small, to that time as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, it was very difficult to adjust. And in my mind, I was praying to Swami that, Swami, I was telling my parents I couldn't adjust, and why don't you take me back? And they wanted to persist. Thank God they did. And I was praying to Swami that, Swami, why don't you tell my parents that I'm not able to adjust, and take me, give them blessings and ask them to take me back home. And I was fervently praying for that. And one such day, darshan during those times were in Purnachandra Hall. If some of you all have been to Parthi. So I was praying. Swami used to come down from the stage and go among devotees. So I'm praying to Swami, Swami, go to my mother. Some of our prayers are almost like instructions. While we pray, it is instructions to Swami. Swami, go to my mother and tell her that I need to go back home. So Swami graciously goes to my mother, and my mother is also worried. So she is having her own set of prayers. So she prays to Swami that Swami. She gets up and prays to Swami physically that. Swami, Dinesh is not doing well. Swami says, Swami just gives he just gives a very nonchalant look, and he just says, "Theek ho jayega," and he walks off. Incidentally, prior to that, I was missing my food sessions because the food was, even today, some of the food things, the South Indian things, is not something that I easily eat. But yeah, of course, I've developed a lot of taste for it. So, incidentally, that was the first day I had a proper meal in the hostel, because the food prepared was something similar to a North Indian cuisine. So my mother met me after darshan. She didn't tell me what had happened. Being mother, she asked, did you have food? And I said, and after almost like a month or so, I had said, yeah, I had food today. So look at Swami's timing in terms of what I was praying, what my mother is praying, and then Swami's timing that the day Swami has spoken to her, that evening I give a response to my mother, which is a reassurance for her that I have started eating in the hostel. So what I'm trying to bring out here is that often we pray for what we want, and we have a certain view about how life should go. And what Bhagwan says is that give up all your what is your plan, just completely give that up, and just surrender. Surrender is a big word, no doubt. All of us go through difficult times, and it's easy to say surrender, but having that faith that Swami will take care, and he's taking care of the entire creation. That is what will bring us closer to Bhagwan. In fact, I recently heard one of someone else narrating his experience that Swami asked him, "What do you want?" And he had the humility to pray that Swami, I should want what you want. And Swami was very happy with that reply. So that sense of surrender is important in our prayers, because our prayers sometimes, as I said, at least my prayer was a dictation to Swami. So just need to be very on that part. So after my wonderful time at school, I moved to Brindavan, which is almost like Bhagwan's garden. It is such a wonderful feeling to be in Brindavan. And you get such wonderful opportunities to to be close to Swami. You're living in the same campus. You get, so for instance, this opportunity is given to every student. 2-3 students get a chance on a daily basis. So you'll get chance to either offer an aarti to Swami or offer a flower to Swami. The first time I was offering a flower to Swami, a thought came through my mind that I had been here as a Balbika student, as a 5-year, 6-year-old. And I remember my parents telling that as a devotee, I had tried offering a flower to Swami. That time Swami used to pick up flowers, bless people's, slates, etc. And Swami had not accepted my flower. And I was, as a child, I was so angry. I had torn apart that flower in the anger that Swami had not blessed my flower. And then it was almost like, about 15 years post that, Swami had actually, as a student, this picture is Swami's, except we had this opportunity of giving a flower to Swami on a daily basis, someone would go and give a flower. So thought passed my mind that if it has taken me 15 years to give a flower to Swami, imagine all of us are beings, souls, whatever is our understanding. We if we are on the spiritual path, and the if a physical flower being offered to Swami has taken 15 years, how much time we would have waited actually to have got in touch with Swami, to have been blessed to be with families which are Sai devotees, to have been blessed to have that sadbuddhi that we should be part of sessions where Bhagwan's glories and Bhagwan's messages, that to be on the spiritual path itself, we would have had to wait for such long time. And important that we have that focus towards devotion, towards Bhagwan, towards our spiritual focus, so that this opportunity, while we should not deal out of fear, but this opportunity of being Bhagwan's devotee is rare, and we should do what it takes to ensure that Bhagwan keeps us on the spiritual paths and keeps our mind at his lotus feet and keeps on drawing us more and more close to him. An experience I would want to share from those days is that on one of those, you also, I forgot to share that picture. Swami had, so we used to get opportunities to take our trays to Swami during for our birthdays. We would seek Bhagwan's blessings as part of our birthday celebration. And my birthday typically comes October, so it sometimes is Dasara time. So I was not sure whether I'll be able to get an opportunity to go to Swami, because during Dasara time we also go to villages for seva. So you will not be able to reach Mandir at a predetermined time and take the coveted position. So all these uncertainties was there. As a responsible student, you want to be part of the seva, but it is a once in a year opportunity to get Swami's blessings for your birthday. So there was a lot of uncertainty around it, and with that uncertainty, I prayed to Swami whatever Swami decides. And when I go in the morning, so I have to go to get Bhagwan's blessings in the afternoon for the afternoon darshan. In the morning, when we go to the mandir just before leaving for seva, October usually, of course, nowadays it rains anytime, weather is uncertain. Back in those days, in early 2000s, it was very clear that October and all, it will not rain in Patti. But very funny, it's raining that day, and it's raining. It's not like heavy downpour, but it's a drizzle. It's a heavy drizzle, if I may call it that way. And Swami announces that today there has been rains, so it may be risky for people to go for doing seva to far off regions. So today our students will do the seva in and around the villages in Puttaparthi. And I realized that, look, this sounds like a very stray thing or a coincidence, but basically what is going to happen is that we are going to go nearby places. I'm going to come back on time, and I will have the opportunity to offer, seek Bhagwan's blessings on my birthday. Now, you can rub it off as a coincidence, but for that time as a child, when I look back even today, here is an avatar, here is someone who has a mission to touch each and every life in his avatarhood. And he still has the time to, rejig the entire plan for one child. It's someone put it very beautifully that Bhagwan signed the check with the pen with which he signed the check for building the hospital, for $1 million hospital. He used the same pen to sign with Love Baba. So I mean, a great aspect about Bhagwan's personality is that while his mission would always go on, he would always have time to do little things, concentrate on small things of life, small joys of life, to give small joys of life. We have our responsibilities, our offices, our responsibilities at home, responsibilities towards our family members. But I think it is important to take out that time to share love with people around who may not expect, love in terms of, it could be a security guard, it could be a pet, it could be, your maid, it could be a small, it could be someone insignificant at your workplace. If we can show love and share that love irrespective of who that person is, our bigger life purposes of life will continue. But it is important to step back and always share love with people around. That is something that has, always something that I have admired about Bhagwan. I'll now take an opportunity to move towards my MBA days. Yeah, this is not exactly that same day, but probably the same, few 6 months or so. As part of our MBA program, we put up dramas in Bhagwan's presence. So our class had also put up a play, and we were struggling what should be the title of that play. So there was a song in that which ends with Bhagavad Gita words, which says Karishye Vachanam Tava. That it basically means that I will do. Arjuna says to Krishna, I will do what you say. Karishye Vachanam Tava. Now, we also, we also kept the drama's title also as that, and how the play would end is that the song would go on Karishye Vachanam Tava, repeating, many times. And that's typical. You would have seen any drama, it ended on a crescendo with this song Karishye Vachanam Tava. And we all, few of us who were leading that, play, we went to Bhagwan for his blessings. And we realized that Swami is repeating that word again and again, Karishye Vachanam Tava, Karishye Vachanam Tava. This is back then when Swami this is 2005. Swami had, stopped walking around easily. He would not speak very regularly. He was not freely moving around. And it was not that you would have a one-on-one easy conversation with him. He would speak less because of his health. So, and he is in that divine kind of, mood wherein he's just chanting the three words, Karishye Vachanam Tava, Karishye Vachanam Tava. Few of us are, it was similar to this position. I was somewhere near Swami. I had if I may use the word, I ventured into, praying to Swami that Swami, give us blessings. He was saying Karishya Vachanam Tava. So I prayed, Swami, give us the blessings that we follow whatever you say. I mean, usually I would never venture into, speaking to Swami so much. But somehow that day, Swami was in such a mood. People around were also finding it difficult to, interact with Swami. So I ventured and I prayed to Swami that, Swami, you have said in Bhagavad Gita, taught in Bhagavad Gita that we should follow you. So give us that strength that we should follow you, that Karishya Vachanam Tava, that we are able to follow whatever you have said. And he looked deep into my eyes and he said, have good thoughts, good action. And he just, and he went into a trance-like position. All he said was, he was in a trance, he was saying Karishya Vachanam Tava. When I prayed this, he just looked at me, gave a deep look and said, have good thoughts, good actions. Now, it's very easy for us as devotees. So logically, it is always thoughts, words, and actions. Swami didn't use words. He said, have good thoughts, good actions. So as devotees, we are, it is a tendency to speak a lot about Swami and speak a lot about good things. But as individuals, as spiritual beings, words will not help us as much as our thoughts. Because the mind can really take us for a ride. So having that thought about Swami, having the thought about Swami's teachings and putting those teachings into actions is something that, to me, that is the instruction Swami gave me on that day, which I wish to share here. That have good thoughts and ensure that we can put those uh, thoughts into action. uh, Otherwise mere words will actually make no value addition to either people around you or people, or to yourself. So have Bhagwan's thoughts and put those thoughts into action. That is what is Swami's message. Just otherwise having empty words does not add value to us or to people around. I think I'll one final experience that I would wish to share. It is slightly deep, if I may put it that way. In fact, it happened on the same day that the first picture was taken, though I was going through chronologically, but this experience I had kept it for the end. Uh, that is, you see me in the first picture, that was the first time I spoke in Bhagwan's presence. So what had happened some months back was that it was Shivratri, and if you all know, there were some years Swami used to manifest the lingam, which though is a very divine sight. If you look at it closely, Swami is in a lot of discomfort. So having seen it in first time in my class 11, I was actually, like few others, I was praying to Swami that please don't do the Lingodbhavam. I know there are a lot of devotees who come, and there are divine purposes by due to which this happens. But why should Bhagwan go through so much pain and so much suffering for each of us just because it is spiritually beneficial for us? Why should Swami suffer? So I was praying to Swami that that this lingam should not happen, Lingodbhavam should not happen. Uh, in fact, a lot of students used to pray that time to Swami that Swami don't do this. But the Lingodbhavam did happen that year. Swami did go through all the pain, and that entire experience of sitting in Kulwant Hall in Bhagwan's presence and seeing Swami manifest the lingam is a spiritual experience. B, at a physical level, it is a very emotionally draining experience. You're seeing Swami suffer so much, and I was in that almost all of us would have gone through that. Sometimes you just feel so connected to Swami. So the Lingodbhavam has happened. Swami has taken the lingam around. Swami has kept the lingam. My full concentration is on the bhajans that are going on. And I'm still praying to Swami and thinking, Swami, why did you do it? What you should note is that I was in class 12. This is a 17-year-old, and that is the Swami doesn't see age and maturity. If you're in sync with him, he will give you the message. So it's almost like I can feel, because the bhajans are going on, because it's emotionally, in fact, I was in tears. Spiritually, I'm trying to connect to Swami and speak to him. And I feel that Swami is replying to me. Swami is not there physically in Mandir. Swami has left, and he has retired for the day. But bhajans are going on, and it's just that at that moment I feel Swami is speaking to me, and I'm sitting listening to bhajans, and Swami says, "Look, this is Swami is telling. I mean, I'm feeling Swami is telling. It's happening more in my mind." So Swami tells that. Look next to you, there's a book, pick it up. Swami says, look next to you, there's a book, pick it up. I look that side, there is Bhagavad Vahini. Someone has left it there. If you have been to Prashanti Nilayam, back then books, etc. were allowed. So someone has left Bhagavad Vahini, and Swami says, pick it up. I mean, my mind resists that. It is just my mind talking. Why should I pick up someone else's book? Someone will, say ki, "Arey bhai, mera kitab kyun le raha hai?" Swami says, pick up that book. That instruction seems to be very hard. So I pick up that book. Open the book, he says. I randomly open that book. I think it was page 57 or 37. I still vividly remember. and my eye goes to the second or the third para. You can you'll still find, I mean, sometimes I often, to remind myself of this experience, I often go back to that book, to that page. My eye, it doesn't glance through, it goes, my eye goes to that particular para. What does those two lines say? So just to recap the context, I am praying to Swami, why did you go through this physical turmoil? And the words that read there, Bhagavatvani, Bhagwan's words as Krishna, the words that I read, first words that I read of a random book lying next to me, a random page I open, and my eye falls on a random para, and it says, perhaps you are concerned about what happens to me physically. Oh God, this is clearly Swami speaking. Perhaps you are concerned about what happens to me physically. This body is made of 5 elements waiting to merge back into 5 elements. Now, what is, if any of you all are mathematics people or rational people, which I try to be, what is the probability that there was a random book next to me? What is the probability that I pick up that book, open that particular page, my eye does not, sometimes it happens, I remember this experience. I try to get, try to reach out to some Swami's book, and you'll never very rarely I am able to hit an answer the way it happened that day. My eye falls on that particular 2 sentences, and the first sentence is very clear that Swami is trying to answer to what my mind was talking, that perhaps you think that I am concerned about anything happening to me physically. This body is made up of 5 elements waiting to merge back into 5 elements. I'm sure last few years have been difficult for all of us in terms of what has happened to us, our families, our near and dear ones. But Swami has always stressed on the fact that don't be too physically attached to yourself, to the world. And that was a massive lesson I learned that night on Shivratri. But my mind, like any of your mind, is it is a rational mind. So monkey mind, next day it happens. It could be a coincidence. So I had this, whether it was actually an experience or not. So somehow I had the strength that few months later, when Bhagwan gave an opportunity to speak in his presence, I actually, the way I'm narrating it to you, I spoke the same thing. I ended my speech that day with this incident. And I think Swami gave that, confirmation, if I may call it that way, to my mind, that he said, after I spoke, Swami said, all the boys, so 3 of us had spoken that day. He said, all the boys spoke very well. They spoke from their heart. They did not, speak something that is bookish. They spoke from their heart. So it was those words on that day were assurance from Swami that his experience that he had given was actually not a gimmick of my mind, but it was actually Swami. So what we call miracles are actually, a bulb lighting out of nowhere may appear a miracle, but the logic is that the bulb is connected to the electricity. It is receptive to the electricity, then the lighting will happen. Similarly, if we are connected to Swami, our minds are connected to him, our sadhana is focused towards him, what what devotees call experiences are actually very logical things. If you are connected to Swami, if you are connected to the universe, you will find Swami responding to you. I have no doubt about that. I am very clear in my mind that Bhagwan responds to the extent, we are in sync with him. I pray to Swami that he continues to guide us. I'll just conclude with a with a small song. So, where are you, Oh my Krishna, whither have you gone? Oh my Krishna, have you no pity? Krishna, my Krishna, where are you, oh my Krishna? Whither have you gone, oh my Krishna? Have you no pity? Krishna, my Krishna, if you were the tree growing upwards, I'll cling on to you like a creeper. If you were the blossoming flower, I'll hover on you like a bee. Where are you, oh my Krishna? Whither have you gone, oh my Krishna? Have you no pity? Krishna, my Krishna, if you were the endless sky, I'll perch on you like a star. If you were the bottomless ocean, I'll merge in you like a wave. I'll merge in you like a wave. I'll merge in you like a wave. Where are you, oh my Krishna? Whither have you gone, oh my Krishna? Have you no pity? Krishna, Sai Krishna.